This is Picks on Politics with Dan Mannarino.
And welcome to Picks on Politics, everybody. I am Dan Mannarino, and it's a solemn week in the world of politics. Conservative activist Charlie Kirk assassinated during an event on a college campus in Utah, one day prior to the country marking 24 years since the terror attacks on September 11th. Those events could shift the rhetoric we've seen on the campaign trail on the most contentious race for New York City that we have maybe seen in decades. New exclusive polling, here we go, from Pix 11 in partnership with Emerson College, showing Zoran Mamdani with a commanding lead here, but that does change if the ballot shrinks to a two-man race. That scenario giving Andrew Cuomo a fighting chance against the Democratic nominee. Now, whomever becomes the next mayor, that mayor will have to work with the city council, and we've seen the mayor's office and the council at odds in the past. Most recently, just this week, the council overriding Mayor Adams' veto to ensure that delivery companies pay drivers more. Critics said that move could result in higher supermarket costs, but the council remains firm in getting that pay for workers. To discuss this move and more, City Council Speaker Adrienne Adams going on the record. Adams, once again, back on Picks and Politics. Good to see you.
Great to see you, Dan.
And it's been a very, very busy week. Let me begin right now with the overriding of Mayor Adams' vetoes right here. These bills specifically surrounding delivery workers, right? Something that the mayor once was fighting for himself. Vetoed that bill. You guys come in now and override it. In essence, though, what's at stake here?
What's at stake is the pay for workers that deliver our food on a daily basis, no matter what the weather is. And speaking of the weather, we've had some very harsh weather over the past few weeks. These are folks that can barely afford to feed themselves, much less all of us. This bill came in on the heels of legislation that was already enacted for our food delivery workers. We wanted to make sure that our grocery delivery workers were indeed put up to par with those workers as well. They deserve to be paid a fair wage.
So the controversy now is really shifting to where does the money fall, right? If you're going to pay the delivery workers more, does that fall to the consumer? And Instacart, one of your council members was here yesterday saying they're a billion-dollar industry. They should really eat the cost. But are they? Are they going to?
I think it's very unfortunate that Instacart, as you said, is a multi-million-dollar company, if not billion-dollar company, would now dangle, over the heads of their workers that they don't want to pay them fair wages, number one. And number two, enacted a campaign against the city council saying that somehow we have the responsibility and that we would impact grocery prices. That's preposterous. If Instacart wants to send fees over, because they don't want to pay their workers, it will be them wanting to line their own pockets on the backs of their workers that do the work and actually do the profiting for these millionaires.
So they actually said, quote, the city council has now twice ignored the voice of New Yorkers, instead doubling down on harmful legislation that could significantly increase New Yorkers' grocery delivery bills.
The delivery bills would only increase if companies like Instacart choose to filter down delivery fees through its retaliation, basically, because again, they don't want to pay their workers, and you cannot turn that pointer onto the city council. We don't set grocery prices.
Yeah.
But if these companies choose to retaliate against their workers because their workers do deserve fair wages, as the city council believes, then it will be those companies that will be responsible for those changes in fees.
So that was one of the overriding of the vetoes. The other one was regarding vendors and licenses, right? And you overrode what the mayor was doing there. This is not the first time we've seen the council. I think it was 8 times, right? 8 times the council has overridden the mayor's veto. What is the current relationship that the mayor has with the city council?
It's minimal, unfortunately, and I'll just say on the record that it was my hope that our legacy as city council speaker and the mayor of the, of the greatest city in the nation would have a much more collaborative relationship than what it has panned out to be.
Same last name, same high school.
Same last
said you were
name,
his
same
sister.
high school, all of that. And it is just unfortunate that the relationship has turned into or deteriorated into what it's been when my hopes, I can only speak for myself, I had such high hopes for this relationship, for the greater good of the city. That said also, I believe that this city council has continued to, under my leadership, and will continue to work and enact in the best interest of New Yorkers, and unfortunately, that has not been reciprocated by the other side of City Hall.
The other big issue that took place this week, the City Board of Elections recently approving this housing questions that are going on the ballot this November, right? And the several questions, if passed by voters, would really limit the City Council's ability to have oversight on affordable housing. You fought against that, saying you did not want it on the ballot. The Board of Elections thought otherwise. What are your thoughts now?
Well, again, my thoughts are the same, particularly 3 proposals, 2, 3, and 4, will absolutely take away the voice of the people of this city, the voices that are represented by City Council, duly elected representatives in the City Council. That will tremendously erode the voices of the people across the board.
If they vote for it.
If they vote for it. The language, Dan, in these proposals is so broad brushed that it looks, and I use the word fluffy, it looks very fluffy and nice, and saying, oh, we're going to fast track housing, oh, we're going to eliminate this to make sure that City Council will no longer be able to have a voice in what is said, basically, in these particular, the fourth one says we're going to give you a board now of representation. The board will largely be represented by mayoral appointees in the background. So we are, in essence, taking away the voices of the voters when it comes to development. Let me say, the City Council and the representation of City Council members are the voices of negotiation that make sure that affordability is in place, make sure that zonings are in place, make sure that the voices of the people through the community boards, the civics, our neighbors and residences across this city, we listen to those voices. We project those voices into the negotiations of all development in the city. Under my leadership, we have approved over 130,000 units of housing for the people of the city. This is more pro-housing in a generation. So to even think that this City Council would be anti-housing is completely misinformed, completely wrong.
So I guess with it being on the ballot, isn't it up to the people anyway?
That's right. It is up to the people.
So are you going to campaign now and let people know? Because a lot of people with these Charter Review Commission items don't know what they're voting for.
Exactly. And that is exactly our fear with the language. The language looks really nice. Broad brush, more housing, fantastic. We need more housing in New York. Of course we do. But it is now going to be up to all of us, our neighbors, our community board members.
So what do you do? Are you going to educate?
City Council. We are going to educate fast and furiously on these ballot proposals, particularly 2, 3, and 4, that people understand that a vote to enact these proposals is a vote to silence their voices when it comes to housing and development in their neighborhoods. We are going to have to go hard on educating our community.
Okay. Speaking of elections and what's going to be on the ballot this November, obviously the race for mayor is a big one, dominating headlines. You were once a candidate yourself. Who has your vote now?
Well, I've said from day one I'm a lifelong Democrat, and I would support the Democratic nominee. Zohran Mamdani is the Democratic nominee, and I support the Democratic nominee for mayor.
So when you look at the field right now, and there's this whole idea of consolidating the field to have someone challenge Zohran Mamdani and who's the best. When you look at the field right now and this idea of Mayor Adams potentially being offered a job, was he, wasn't he? Should he stay in the race? Should he drop out?
Well, I can't say, what Mayor Adams should or shouldn't do. What I will say is that he should be forward-thinking and taking a look at his career overall, what that looks like in the scenario of the polls, and as well as what it looks like in the grand scheme of things and his path to victory. Is there a path to victory? I've run in several campaigns, obviously. I realize when there is no path to victory that it is time to then shut the door, move on to something else, and for the greater good of the people of New York.
You think you should do that? When you look at the poll numbers, our poll this week had him at 7%.
From what I understand, though, he is going to have his own pollsters do that for him at some point over the upcoming days, and I hope that he will, consider whatever those polls are. I don't know what that will look like for him.
Given the events of what played out this week, right? We saw assassination of Charlie Kirk. There's been a lot of talk about rhetoric overall within the mayor's race, within races around the country, and overall just the tone of what people are saying around this country, especially in this specific race. Should people tone down the rhetoric when it comes to this specific mayoral campaign?
Oh, absolutely. In all campaigns across this country, we're in such a different place right now where we don't work on a bipartisan level, and I'll just take it all the way out there. We tend to compartmentalize our party and look at it straightforward in a party kind of a sense. I'm really happy, though, and I'll bring it back into my own city council. We've been able to work on a bipartisan level with our Democrats, with our Republicans. We've been able to do that very well. And I like to think, hopefully, it's a large influence of my leadership in the council.
Yeah. Even one of your former council members, a Republican, Joe Borelli, came out and said, look at what used to happen. We disagree. I want Zohran Mamdani to lose. I don't want anything harmful to happen to anyone. And in the chambers, we used to give each other cookies.
Absolutely right. And I saw the interview with Joe the other night, and how I miss Joe Borelli. We really did have a wonderful relationships regarding our politics, whether we disagree or not. We were always civil, and at the end of the day, we were always able to talk to each other and respect each other's views.
And there's a lot of talk about you and your future. And I asked you once before if you were going to run for mayor. You told me, you know, to be continued, Dan. So now there's talks of you potentially wanting to be a lieutenant governor candidate. Now that field is kind of opened up with the current lieutenant governor running against Kathy Hochul, do you want to be lieutenant governor?
I have a lot of options. I've had no discussions.
This sounds like this is deja vu. And then
all
you ran
over
for mayor.
again. All over again.
Yeah.
But I still have the options. You know, Dan, I don't come from a political world. I come from, you know, almost 2 decades from the private sector in corporate America, which is still, you know, looking good out there, as is, you know, the public life, which I have loved and have loved what I do. I still love what I do because I was born to do this work.
But if she asked you, it's not a no.
If she asked me, all things to be considered.
To be considered, to be continued.
And to be continued, thankfully.
Speaker Adams, come on back when you have that announcement to make, okay?